What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. We back with another video. We up here in the lab right now, man. You feel me? We about to get into some art stuff. You feel me? You already know. But before we get into that, man, I wanted to talk about a few different things, man. A few things I wanted to talk about, get off my chest, man, and talk about, man, like the importance of this art right here is, of course, man, is to make people more conscious, of their environment. It's to push more of a higher frequency of imagery, and it's to push more of, our culture. It's to reunite our culture, Black culture, with its roots in African culture. We're taking the culture of Black and hip hop culture, and we're cultivating it into rooting it in Africa. So that's the imagery we're going for. That's the message we're going for. That's what we're really going for. Because the idea is we have to become more conscious, and we have to start to root ourselves back into what we really are, which is Africans. So that is the journey, man. And that's what I want to talk about today, man. I want to talk about going back to our roots and going back to what we really are as Africans, and starting to shed off the colonial sicknesses, I guess, or the mind frames of capitalism, or the mind frames of everything is just all about me, and you know what I'm saying, get back to doing things for each other, right? And not being so caught up in the aspect of money, but more so on the aspect of each other, and how can we help and assist each other, and living for each other, right? And embracing and experiencing each other, right? Instead of just trying to individually just stack up bread, by myself and all this, so that's what we're really going for, man. And to do that, we have to really start to, decolonize our minds, deprogram our minds from all of the things influencing us. And a lot of the things that influence us have a really major effect on how we really think. And it causes us to think backwards. And stop us from doing what we really, really want to do, or we're really supposed to be doing. So that's the most important thing, is getting back to your roots and getting back to yourself, who you really are, and sticking to your daily progressions and your daily disciplines, and whatever that may be. The man you was growing up and cultivating yourself as a kid, whether it was you was playing basketball, or whatever you naturally gravitated towards as a kid, it's time to get back to that. And it's time to start to modernize that, or it's time to innovate that, right? Whatever it was that you was doing as a kid, it's time to start to innovate that, man, and really start to take off from there. Cause yeah, man, like I always say myself, I always say this: natural skills are the most important skills, man. And because these skills are the skills that you root yourselves in, and everything that springs forth is based from the root of your natural skills, right? When we talk about abundance, and we talk about Africa, and we talk about our ancestors and things like that, our great grandparents, our forefathers, etc., all the way, we're connected to the first man. Like through our genetics. Genetically, we are connected to the first man. And what we need to understand is how the limbic system influences our behavior and how we process information. Because the limbic system, which is in the right hemisphere of our brain, taps into memory. It taps into our emotions. It taps into all these different things in order to influence our decision making. So when we could understand that genetics plays a key part in how we process information, we can start to look at, okay, how did what was our great grandparents doing? What did they go through? What did our forefathers go through? All this stuff in order to like help us regulate why we feel the way we do when we see or hear certain things. And the main key takeaway I wanted to say about that though was the fact that as Africans, I think we need to really get to start to understand how important that is to start to root ourselves back in Africa and start to root ourselves and obtain knowledge of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? The culture of Africa, and taking what was back, you know, what we was doing back then and the information from back then, and sort of starting to cultivate that or innovate that. But the other thing is I wanted to talk about is in cultivating the things from that we see from Africa. It's also important to understand that as our forefathers and those people are still connected to us. Like, even though we were enslaved, and even though that we came from, you know, all the way from Africa on slave ships, and all this stuff happened to us, and we've been uprooted from our land, we haven't been uprooted from our natural resources in abundance, because abundance comes from knowledge, and abundance comes from our genetics. This is what every single grandparent that we have or forefather that we have has passed down to us, is genetics. Genetics is what's been passed down, and that's our abundance. So once we cultivate our natural resources, then this is what will give us what we need in order to bring forth that abundance that I guess that we're looking for. So with that being said, understand that regardless of what they took from you or what they took from, you know what I'm saying? No matter what they take, they can never take your abundance. They can never take your abundance. That abundance lives right inside of you, because we got to understand our genetics are so strong, and that pull that we have to Africa and from our forefathers and how they influence us is that strong. And the more we tap into the things that they were doing, whether it's an artist or whether it's a preacher or something like that, the more we start to do the activities, our bodies start to become familiar, or our bodies start to feel a sense of familiarity to what we're doing, like planting or gardening or something, right? So this is why it's important for us to start to get back into more, or decolonize from these other activities and get more back into this stuff, like gardening and cooking and things like this. All this type of stuff, man. All this type of stuff. Artistry and, you know, getting into all these in music. Some of these things are things that all of us need to get into. Like music, I haven't gotten into music, but shoot, I sure do need to. Like, even if it's not the main thing that we're doing, there's a lot of things that we need to at least touch, right? Whether it's music or gardening, growing fruits and vegetables, or cooking. These are things that we need to do. So pretty much that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. It's a matter of, I guess, getting back into those things. But other than that, man, stay positive, stay elevated, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.